Drama and conflict are everywhere, in the books, movies, popular media we consume, and in the relationships that make up our lives. Sociologists and healthcare professionals often say that the dynamic roles people play in relationships form a drama triangle. Each of us has at one point claimed one or more of these roles. Understanding how to overcome these challenges is critical in learning how to interact with others and in living the life you truly want. My guest today has found her way through the drama triangle and lived to tell about it. Let's talk with Rachel Graham about her journey. Hi, and welcome to Coffee with Claire. As you loyal fans know, we bring to you business leaders and entrepreneurs who like to give back and have fun. My guest today is Rachel Graham, co-founder and president of Healing Springs Ranch. A leader in the healthcare arena, addiction treatment, and managed care, Rachel is an advocate for all of us taking charge of our personal journeys. Welcome back, Rachel.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here. Every time that you're here, it's so insightful.
Oh, thank you.
And I learn so much about myself and reveal more than I'd like to, but that's the way it goes, right? Because that's all part of learning about ourselves. So we have talked about addiction, we've talked about compulsion, and within this arena, there's something called the drama triangle, which is a part of relationships in all of our lives. So can you describe this drama triangle to us?
Yeah. I'm actually going to talk to you about two different triangles.
Okay.
There's the drama triangle, which is the dysfunctional communication pattern or role that we play. And then there's David Emerald's the empowerment dynamic, which is the healthier.
Ooh, I like
so
that.
we'll talk about both of them and how you can recognize the drama triangle and the roles that you're playing or your loved ones, anyone you're communicating with, and how to get off that to a healthier, more productive way of representing yourself, your ideas, and communicating with other people.
Okay.
So we have a graphic here. If it's okay, we pop that.
Yeah,
let's put this
please.
graphic up, and we're first going to talk about the drama triangle, or sometimes it's referred to as the dreaded drama triangle. Sometimes it's merely called the Karpman drama triangle in the world of psychology.
Okay.
But it has three basic roles in it, and those are the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. So let's talk a little bit about what each one of those roles are.
Okay.
The victim is someone who feels powerless. They have a big dark cloud that follows them around. Bad things happen to them. They can't seem to cut a break. Nothing seems to work in their way. No one likes them, those types of things.
Okay.
Then you have the actual rescuer. Then that's the person that jumps in and saves the day. The rescuer needs a victim, and they jump in and save the victim. And the rescuer gets their self-worth from the need to feel needed. So then you have the persecutor, which is the one that wags that finger in the air that it's your fault that all this happened, and they place blame. They can sometimes be a bully, come across as very arrogant, those types of things. And so the three together play this little triangular role, and we tend to gravitate toward one over the other. So the persecutor has to have a victim, and then the victim needs a rescuer needs a victim. See?
Yeah.
So it's all interchangeable in there. So I will tell you, I'll be vulnerable again.
Okay.
I seem to do that on your show.
I'm an opener.
But I will tell you the role I play. We all play one on that particular dysfunctional triangle at times when we're tired, stressed, hungry, any of those types of things.
Absolutely.
But I'm a recovering rescuer. It's out there.
dun.
I put it out there. How about you? Your turn.
Well, you know what? I've actually played all three of those roles quite well at sometimes. But I think my natural tendency is to go to that rescuer role as well. I really, because I'm such a helper.
Yep.
You know, it's like, it's okay, it's all right, you're good just the way you are, but it's not really healthy to do that.
Right. And we don't really know it's not healthy because it's a family dynamic we've become accustomed to.
Yeah.
So we've grown up with it. And unless you learn it's very difficult to really break those patterns and cycles, and you'll repeat them in the next generation. So I mentioned to you, I'm a recovering rescuer. To my children, sometimes I might come across as a persecutor when I'm really upset. I don't mean to, and that's for them, so in case they're watching.
Mommy loves you.
Yes, I don't mean to, but it does happen. So would you like to hear about what we can do on the healthy side?
Yes, yeah. How do we make that transition?
Okay, so we have a slide here with the empowerment dynamic, which was done by David Emerald. He created a book called TED, and that's an acronym for the empowerment dynamic. It's a great read. For anyone, it's a short read, but it really packs a really good punch in a very short amount of time. But it talks about these roles. So in the empowerment dynamic, you actually have a coach, you have a challenger, and then you have the creator. So those are the three roles on that particular triangle. So the idea behind that is a creator is someone that feels powerful. Yes, bad things may happen, but there's something I can learn from it. There's something I can do with it. I can apply it somewhere in some way to make my life richer or learn a new skill, those types of things. And I don't let this bog me down. I let it empower me to do something amazing with this particular experience I'm having. Then you have the coach. The coach is someone that actually coaches someone to finding the resolution, doesn't actually jump in and rescue them. And the coach is looking to draw out that skill within that individual, which ultimately gives them a self-esteem. And then you've got the challenger. The challenger, and if you've ever had a really great boss, they're probably a good challenger where they push back on something. I know you can do better on this project. I know that you know how to do something better. Let's see if you can come up with more creative ideas. So the challenger will push back and actually encourage the person to come up with innovative new ideas within their capabilities. So those three can play along with each other too. And so,
fascinating.
Yes, and so it's really something that's amazing if you watch the shift, and you can actually shift from the drama triangle to the empowerment dynamic.
Okay. Oh, and I even like the way you held your hand up higher.
Yes.
Like it's a little higher thinking.
Yes, it is. And it's a conscious thinking. It's a mindset. So a lot of the things that we've talked about is all right here. We have an amazing ability to change the way we see the world just by shifting our mindset.
Yeah.
And how we experience the world. And so in this particular scenario or model, the victim, when you're in a victim mode, the healthy mode to get to is to go over to the creator role.
Okay, so victim to creator. Got it. Okay.
So instead of sitting there saying, this is really bad what's happening to me and I can't control the outcomes, and the creator says, this is what I want. How do I get to wherever it is I want? And how do I use this experience, maybe it's an adverse experience, to get there? What does it teach me?
Great.
So they see it in a more positive light, if you will, versus a negative, I'm incapable of something. Then the rescuer. Okay, they map over to the coach.
Okay.
So there's a difference between rescuing someone and coaching.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you the example. There's even biblical references where we talk about teaching someone to fish. If you fish for them, they never learn to fish. That's rescuing someone. If you're fishing for them and feeding them, they're never going to learn. But if you teach them how to fish, coach role, they will eat the rest of their life.
Right.
And so the coach actually empowers the individual to come up with the solutions and teaches them how to go on. And in the world of children, you'll see that in helicopter parents. Helicopter parents are the ones that often rescue. They get mad at the school, they go up to the school and they want to talk to the principal and the teacher and yell at everybody on behalf of their child. And what that does is it usurps power from that child. The best thing a parent can do is role play with their child and teach them how to go and have that conversation with that teacher or that principal to be more effective in their role. And it creates a level of confidence when they've handled the problem themselves. If the parents keep going in and fighting the battle for them, the kids never learn, and they go to their parent and they never get solid footing and learn how to effectively communicate with people to achieve an outcome they desire. That makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
So then you have the persecutor, which is the placing the blame, the bully, becomes a challenger. So you can challenge someone in a very healthy way, especially when you know they have a capability that maybe they haven't explored yet. And like I said, in the manager relationship, good managers are great challengers. They're coaches too. And then they play back and forth. Those two can kind of go back and forth. And so that's kind of how each of those dysfunctional roles map to a healthier role there.
So when you're coaching, when you're working with individuals and they're kind of stuck in the negative triangle, what are some things that you help them think about, or different ways that you get them to map over to this more positive side?
So it's about first acknowledging you're on the drama triangle.
And how do you even know? How do you, what's that trigger?
You can tell by if you're blaming people, if you're feeling victim-y, that woe is me, these bad things happen, I can't get out of it. There's lots of language of victim. We all know somebody who plays victim. Then you also have the rescuer. If you're jumping in and doing the work for someone and actually not allowing them to learn from it, then you're in that rescuer role. And I will tell you too, you often shift into it when you're tired and you're hungry and you're stressed. That's when it really pops up. And so if you find yourself in those roles, I encourage people, take 10 deep breaths, stop. You got to get off this triangle. And then encourage people to go in with a different mindset of themselves, saying, okay, I'm going to ask myself the question. If I'm playing victim, I'm going to ask myself, what is this teaching me?
Ooh, I like that.
Boom. Yeah. Now I've shifted.
Okay.
So now I have to answer that question and be real with myself. You know, if I'm persecuting, is it really about everybody else? You know, or is there a part I need to own? And what can I do to challenge myself to do better?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know,
that's a huge shift.
It is. And the same thing on the rescuer. Like I said, if I'm doing the work and saving someone, how do I teach them how to have those skills to save themselves at some future date?
Yeah.
One of the dysfunctional things too, and people say, well, can I have multiple roles on the dysfunctional drama triangle? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And we can do that. You think about it when you're fighting with your spouse, or you're fighting with a loved one, or at work, you might be the persecutor at work, but at home you're the victim. So we have different roles that we'll play. We typically have one we gravitate toward, but I've also shared where I can actually play all three roles by myself in one setting.
You're such an overachiever.
You know, I can do it. And I'll give the example is, you know, if you knew me, you'd know that I'm still trying to get down to a certain goal weight. And so I don't really need any extra calories, right? But I love those little Bluebell cups that they have out there. And so let's say I have a crazy day at work. And I say to myself, you know, it's been a crazy day. I have earned one of those Bluebell cups. And the rescuer in me says, you know what? You walked a lot. You did over 10,000 steps. Sure, you should have the vanilla ice cream. So I eat it. Then what happens? The persecutor comes out. What were you thinking? You have no business doing that. You're trying to shed weight. The only way to do that is to lower the caloric intake. Look what you've done. And it starts the whole cycle all over again. Then you fall victim to your own persecution.
Oh, wow. That's the worst, to fall victim to your own self. So you're in that Bluebell mode, and you realize that you're playing this victim, and you shift. What happens? I mean, you know, what happens if you've already had that Bluebell ice cream, and then you realize that you want to shift into the more positive triangle? You're not still persecuting yourself anymore, right? Because you're looking at it more positively.
Yeah. So what if you go ahead and consume the Bluebell? You have your Bluebell moment.
Right.
Then a coach can step in and say, okay, what'd you learn from that? Did that really satisfy your need? Did that really fix the stress that you were having? And that was your justification for doing that. Did that really address that?
Yeah. The
answer is going to be no. It might for a few seconds, right? But then the challenger can come in and say, okay, now what are you going to do about this? Okay, well, we're going to throw out all the Bluebell ice cream cups. We're not even going to keep them in the house.
Okay.
That might be the first thing. Let's throw them out.
Let's be very constructive.
Yes. Okay. And then the coach might say, and you know what? You got to do 20,000 steps tomorrow, or whatever the situation may be. I mean, I don't do caloric math count very well. You're fine. So, but you know what I'm saying. You get the drift. But and then the creator can say, you know what? I've learned something about myself that I probably need to put safety around myself when I'm having stressful moments, and find an alternate solution to the Bluebell ice cream. Maybe it's going for a walk, or reading a book, or spending time with a friend, picking up the phone and calling a friend, whatever it might be. But I need to find a substitute for that. And that's the pattern that happens in the world of addiction. I use the Bluebell ice cream, but you can substitute that with addiction or compulsive behaviors.
Sure.
You can keep doing that.
Yeah.
And it can happen to all of us.
And you mentioned that it is passed on from, families, from what your family dynamic was when you were growing up and things like that. So that can be pretty hardwired in us.
Yes, it absolutely is. And if you don't get a handle on it, you can actually perpetuate it. So in my family dynamic, my mom was the victim oftentimes, and I became her rescuer. And And that's not a healthy place to be.
Yeah.
I was always jumping in trying to rescue her. So I didn't know that that was necessarily bad. And as a rescuers, you're often praised. People come to you, you know how to fix my problem. Thank you so much. I need you in my world. And the rescuer's getting intrinsic, unhealthy, albeit unhealthy, feelings and emotions and feedback to reinforce that behavior. And so when we find ourselves in that role, we've got to be very cognizant that we're in the role and get off of it.
So what happens if I become more self-actualized and I'm understanding this about myself and I realize that I want to transition out of this victim mode, but I have somebody in my life that really needs for me to be a victim? That's part of our relationship. If I move out of victim mode, are they going to leave me because I'm not what they need anymore?
Well, then you're in a toxic relationship.
Uh-huh.
You know, now we're really hitting on this. You're in a toxic relationship that you're going to need to express what you're going to need from the other person. And it's going to be up to them whether they can accommodate that. But you can choose to stay in a victim role, or you can say, you know what, I'm choosing not to let this bad thing bring us down.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this opportunity to figure out how I can leverage this experience to do something amazing with it. And that person can either get on board or not. But if that person continues to need you to be the victim so they can persecute or rescue you, then you need to recognize you're in an unhealthy relationship.
Wow.
Now, you can teach people this. And again, sometimes just having this simple conversation or reading the book creates a level of awareness for people. They go, oh, I get it.
And I didn't know that I was there before, but, you know, I think it's much more empowering to accept that responsibility and work together to, you know, get to that other side of things. But I can see where people would really just get, I am so comfortable being the persecutor. That's just, it's almost fun.
Yeah.
You know, that's like my entertainment is to watch people's reactions when I do that kind of thing. So I guess that's a little bit of addiction to being a persecutor or something.
You can. And, you know, my mom, I love my mom. Bless her heart. You know, she never even realized she was in that victim role, and I never realized I was in the rescue role. And when you're in the rescue role, here's something else we do, since I'm talking to one.
Yeah.
We're two rescuers having coffee. Is that we can rescue all over people that don't want to be rescued.
And then we get in their way and they get mad.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we don't know why they're mad. Well, I'm just trying to help you. Why are you mad at me? You know?
Exactly.
Or stop saying I'm sorry. I've had people say that to me too. It's like, dang it, I'm just trying to apologize. No, you've apologized 20 times. It's enough.
Yeah.
Get over yourself. So when we are when a person's working with Healing Springs, about how long does it take for someone to kind of unravel these traits we've kind of been working with our whole lives?
You know, it depends. I mean, the first thing is creating awareness. And oftentimes we bring the families in, and then we get the families to own their role.
Idea.
The biggest part of healing someone is having everybody own their parts and pieces that they need to address. And as you know, I mentioned before when we've been talking, is that in the role of addiction and in the role of addiction treatment, everybody around that individual, that's the kind of the focus, has a role in that big master production play that's on the stage. And we all need to own our pieces and address our pieces to make a healthier family unit for all of us.
So when the families come in, do they get some work separate from the individual? The individual gets some work without the family, and then do you bring them together sometimes too?
We do.
Okay.
That's exactly what you're spot on. Okay. And it just depends on the family dynamics and the situation. Sometimes we have multiple family units that can't commingle because of divorce or whatever the situation might be. So we address all the pieces there and then bring them together to hopefully encourage everyone to learn how to communicate more effectively, so we're not persecuting all over each other and escalating tempers.
I'm sure that happens, though.
Yeah, it does. And, you know, the rescuer in the addiction equation is called the codependent. You know, that's one of the terms I hate. I don't really like that term, I'll be honest with you, but it's used that way as the co-addict or codependent. And oftentimes they're the enabler in the role of addiction.
So when you have successfully transitioned away from the drama triangle, and you have more healthy ways of looking at things, do you ever slip back into this other side?
You do.
Yeah.
You do. And as you get more adept at learning, it happens less and less. But like I said, we all get tired. We all get stressed. It's real easy. My kids do something and I want to do this. That's my knee-jerk reaction. As parents, that's what we do, right? But you can stay more on the empowerment dynamic once you understand it and not resort to this dysfunctional drama triangle.
And I think one of the keys that you mentioned is the trigger of being tired or stressed or something like that. If we can either plan ahead, maybe we just know ourselves a little bit better, or, like last night I was on the road and I was almost out of gas and there was a wreck in front of me. Mm-hmm. And I knew I should have gotten gas before I left, but I didn't. And then I was persecuting myself. It's like, why didn't you stop and get gas? And it's like, I turned into the victim. Well, I really just wanted to get home and watch the game, and then the rescuer was like, oh, it's okay, Claire. I went through all of that in my car as I was driving home last night. So, I bet at the same time, I do realize how much healthier this other side is. And I do try to stay on that side. It's just that sometimes we don't.
Yep. And that's okay. We're human.
Yay.
We're human.
Well, thank you. Thank you for rescuing me on that.
It's okay. We're human.
Well, thank you again, Rachel, for joining us and helping us better understand ourselves and our relationships. How can people find you and get more information?
We're on healingspringsranch.com. You can find us there. Tons of information. We actually put lots of different information out there. We have some podcasts for additional literature if you want to learn some more about some of these lessons.
Yeah.
And of course, then we put these pieces out there too.
Well, we really appreciate you coming out and keeping us posted on all things relationship-wise, as well as getting healthy in ourselves. And also, thank you to our viewers and our listeners. Please make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We'll see you next time on Coffee with Claire. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Coffee with Claire. To learn more about today's guests, visit their website or find them on Facebook. To learn more about me, Claire Billingsley, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at coffeewithclaire.tv. And to hear more episodes of Coffee with Claire, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast and social media platforms.